I went to my local Tesco's the other day, right, and I got out the car, and a Karen, or actually to be fair, she was quite a nice woman. Anyway, she turned around and asked me why my car was so loud, because obviously I have an aftermarket exhaust on it. And just to let you know, my exhaust is just a back box. It's nothing too crazy. It's not like a straight piped Civic that wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, obviously I turned around and said to her, well, I like the sound that it makes. And then she replied and said, well, you're not impressing anyone. I'm sorry, what? For some reason, and I don't understand why, a lot of non-car people think that car enthusiasts who buy exhausts for their car are just buying them to show off, which I can see it happening in some cases, but most of the time we just want to hear our engine and we just enjoy the sound that our cars make. I mean, the sound of an engine for most car enthusiasts is one of the most enjoyable things. And it's why most car enthusiasts buy aftermarket exhausts in the first place, so they can actually hear what their engine sounds like. If you have a car like a Mustang, you obviously want to hear the roar of that V8. And even with inline 4s like the S2K, you want to hear that car get up to around 9,000 RPM. And the issue with a lot of modern cars these days is they don't really come with the best exhausts from factory, so chucking an aftermarket exhaust on can really amplify the sound that's sort of being muffled by the stock exhaust. I mean, it's literally one of the reasons why electric cars are so hated in the car community, because they don't really have much soul or life in them. They just sort of sound like sewing machines. I mean, I don't have to explain this to you because most people watching this video are going to be car enthusiasts, so you get exactly where I'm coming from. But I just don't understand why non-car enthusiasts think we're just trying to show off all the time. I mean, at the end of the day, I bought the exhaust and the car for my own enjoyment. I didn't buy it for anyone else. Now, this next one to me is actually ridiculous, and even my own mother asks me this question. And it is, what is the point of owning a fast car? I mean, this is just ridiculous. Now, to be fair, I do see why people would think this. Most people just think cars are from getting from A to B, and that's it. And if that's your opinion on cars, then that is totally fair enough. But I just don't think they understand what having a fast car means. Believe it or not, a lot of people think my MX-5 is a fast car, and they usually ask me what's the fastest I've been in it. And they're usually disappointed when I just tell them the speed limit, because you don't really buy a fast car to go top speeds, which I think most people think that's what they're all about. Where actually performance cars are more about handling and acceleration and braking more than just a top speed. I mean, you don't usually buy a car for a top speed, you know what I mean? I think that's where people get confused. And of course, the other point is that people only see them as an A to B sort of thing, which is a completely valid point, but I don't understand why they're so confused that car enthusiasts buy, fast cars, because it's an interest of ours. It's what we're enthusiastic about. But they can't seem to wrap around their head how we don't just see it as an A to B sort of thing, and it's really odd sometimes. Don't get me wrong though, there are times where you can enjoy the speed of a fast car, like when you're merging onto the motorway, you can obviously put your foot down and enjoy some of the acceleration. But of course it's not going to be all of the time. One thing that really makes me laugh is people who base a car's value off the age of the car. Basically, their math is newer car means better car and older car means worse car. This is probably one of the leading factors of depreciation in luxury cars, so it can work to an advantage, but it's not the smartest way of looking at things. Of course, a car of today versus a car from the 1950s, obviously the car from today is going to be a lot better, but I'm talking about people who judge cars off of like a decade basis, or even 2 decades. I mean, if I had 10 grand and I had to buy a daily driver, I would much rather get a Lexus from 2014 than a Fiat from 2024. Whereas if you gave these two options to a non-car person, they're more likely to choose the Fiat because it's newer. Now, I'm not saying this is the case for every car brand. Of course, a newer Lexus is going to be better than an older Lexus, but what I'm saying is people would much rather spend more money on a newer car than less money on an older car, which is actually better. And it's just crazy. It's crazy to think about sometimes. Obviously, I assume most people watching this video would rather go for the 10-year-old Lexus than the brand new Fiat, because we know it's going to be more reliable and it's going to be better value for car. I do think this view though from non-car people does work in a massive advantage for car enthusiasts, because it allows us to actually get cars for a bit cheaper that are really good. One thing we all do as car enthusiasts is we all spend a decent amount of money on our cars. And today, earlier at work, one of my colleagues actually asked me why I spend so much on my car. As we were both speaking about our cars, and I told him about the new wheels and suspension I got, and he couldn't really understand why I keep spending money on it. The thing is, I know my colleague enjoys his golf, and he spends a lot of money on that hobby, and it's kind of confusing because it's almost like people don't understand how other people have hobbies, but I think people just get confused themselves. You see, most people just see cars as an A to B necessity. They don't really see them as something that has an interest in or is a hobby. I think you can kind of compare this to computers and PCs. Most people will just buy a bog standard laptop or computer, where if you're into, PC building and PC gaming, then you're going to build a stronger computer and spend more money on it. But people who don't need a gaming PC aren't going to really understand what the necessity is for them. For example, my parents just have a MacBook. They don't need a powerful PC. Whereas I like investing money into my PC, because I want to play games in it, I want to make YouTube videos. And this sort of compares to cars. Most people just want a car that will take them from A to B. They're not going to track their car, they're not going to drive their car hard, so they don't need to add modifications to it, or spend more money on performance cars. In reality though, everyone is just different, and we all have different opinions and interests, even in the car community. Some people are more into Subarus, some people are more into their Mitsubishis, and the same applies to non-car guys and car guys. It's just common sense. How I spend my money is going to be different to how you spend your money, and vice versa. It's really not that hard to understand, but I guess most people just think the world revolves around them. Another question that I think is quite funny, actually, and it happened to me the other day. I parked up and I was with my girlfriend, and I got out of the car and I turned around and took a picture of it. Because I'll show you the picture now. As you can see, quite a nice picture. And she asked me, why do I take so many pictures of my car? And when you get out of your car and you do the sort of look around thing just to look at it, and you're like, oh, this is perfect for a picture. So obviously you pull your phone out and take a picture. But obviously it's just kind of funny because most non-car people just think, why are you taking a picture of your car? Because for them it's just a big bit of metal, but to us obviously we understand the design and everything like that. So, but it's just one thing that I was like, oh, this is actually kind of weird from a non-car person's perspective. I mean, a big part of the car community is photography, and some people spend thousands on different types of cameras. But yeah, it's just funny how it's just something that us car guys always do. We get out our car, we turn around, and sometimes if the car is in a nice setting or it looks nice, we'll just take a picture. But to non-car people, it's just super confusing to them. It'll be interesting to know in the comments what sort of weird and wonderful questions non-car people have asked you. I might actually make a part 2 to this video because there are so many stupid misconceptions that non-car people make. I mean, the list does go on, and if you did find some enjoyment out of this video, please consider subscribing. I mean, it is free, so you might as well. Anyway, I will see you very, very soon. Ciao for now.